Hey guys, this is Melissa from Melissa Made, and today I'm just going to show you how I made this adorable card using a penguin stamp set from Whimsy Stamps. So first I'm going to start out with kind of the products I use. This is paper from Doodlebug Designs called Milk and Cookies. And the first thing I usually do when I pick out a paper is then I match up my Copic chart to see what colors I want to color with. So I've done that. And now I'm going to show you the Whimsy stamp set called Penguin Adventures. It's super cute. Comes with a number of penguins. There's not a lot of coloring to do on these penguins, so you don't have to be a rock star when it comes to coloring either. I'm just going to ink up a few of these guys. I'm going to color 5 of them. Um, one for each member of my family. I thought that was a cute idea, and there's little girl penguins and little boy penguins. And you can color them any color you want to represent those as well. And I'm simply going to stamp that down onto some 60-pound hammer mail cover copy paper. I like to use my Copics on this paper. It's good for stamping. I use it for all kinds of things. So once I get those stamped down, I'm going to go ahead and start coloring the penguins with my Copics. I'm choosing colors, like I said, that match that paper, but I'm also just kind of randomly grabbing, color families that blend well together, but it's such a small area. It's not really worth, pulling in 100 different markers just to color these. So I'm not spending a ton of time coloring, but you'll see that I go through using reds, blues, and some greens, and then oranges for the beak and feet of the little guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and let the video speak for itself, and then once the Copic coloring is done, I'll come back in and talk to you a little bit more about this card making process. Okay, and now that I'm finished coloring these adorable little penguins, I grabbed the coordinating die set for Penguin Adventures, and I'm going ahead and lining up each die with each penguin that I would like to die cut for the set. When I line up dies, I like to use 3M Post-it tape. You can use washi tape or anything that's not super adhesive. But the best way to do this is kind of you line up your dies, and then I realized here that I had forgot to finish coloring the rest of his foot. But you line up your dies, and then you go ahead and put the Post-it tape on the top and bottom, or washi tape, as I said. And I'm going to do this for each little penguin, and I'm going to have to run this through my die machine twice because I did stamp an extra penguin because I wanted 5, and 2 of those have bows in their hair to represent my 2 daughters. So I'm simply getting those stuck down, and then I'm going to go ahead and run them through my die cut machine, and then go back and cut out that extra little penguin. Again, this stamp set's called Penguin Adventures from Whimsy Stamps, and it does have a coordinating die set. This set's really cute for Christmas cards, but you can also use it for everyday cards as well. So I'm just putting this into my big shot and running it through. These thin wafer dies are perfect. They cut the paper really easily. I don't need to go back and forth. You can see they cut after one time. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut down this paper that I mentioned to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to take stitched hillside dies, and I'm going to go ahead and cut those out of that same hammer mill copy paper that I mentioned earlier. And I like to take a piece of paper that's a little bit bigger than the dies, run it through, and then I like to actually throw that paper into my paper cutter here, and I'll trim the edge close to the very ends of the dies, and then I'm going to flip it over and also cut that to the same size as the length of my card, which again is 5 1/4. Now I'm going to take Shimmer Craft Spray Frost from Imagine Crafts, and I'm going to give it a good shake, and then I'm going to throw these little hillsides into a box, prime the sprayer, and then by kind of spraying off of the paper and then spraying the paper. This shimmer spray is awesome. It is my favorite spray to add shimmer, and you can see here. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. And this doesn't even do it justice, but you can really see how much shimmer you actually get onto those snowy hillsides. And I think it's beautiful. Again, that is shimmer spray. Now I'm going to take this Candy Hearts basil cardstock that I picked up at Michael's, and I'm going to use this for my card base. So I cut that down to 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And then I also cut the Wonderland die, and that's a die from Whimsy Stamps as well. And I cut that out on my die cut machine. And now I'm going to adhere my paper down to my card base using my ATG gun. This is an old ATG gun, but I love it. I never have any problems with it, aside from sometimes the tape sticks a little bit to the roller, but you can see that I have to peel off some of that because sometimes that does happen. But the tape's cheap for this tape runner, and I really like it, and it puts a lot of really sticky tape onto my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to my card base, and you saw me grab the foam tape. Now I hate using foam tape, but I use it when I have things like this because it's really nice for the long hills, but I hate it because I hate pulling off that tape, and I've mentioned this before. If anyone has any ideas, I know that there's the dimensional foam squares, but then you have to add like a bajillion of them, so I just in the end used foam tape. I know that some people like to use craft foam. I've seen Jennifer McGuire and Christina Werner use craft foam, and I think that's probably a great thing to do. I just don't have any in my stash. So now I'm going to take some on-point glue, and I love the precision tip on this, and I'm going to simply glue the letters, or put some glue onto this die cut, and then I'm going to adhere it to the bottom layer of my snowy hills. And once I put the glue on it, I like to put an acrylic block on top just to hold it down so that I can make sure it adheres, but it dries pretty fast. So you'll see me add an acrylic block to the top of the hill, and while that's kind of drying, I will go ahead and put the tip back in my on-point glue. I love that stuff, and again, I love that it has a metal tip that goes down into it to keep it from clogging, because I hate when glue tips get clogged. You have to transfer glues to other bottles. They give you different tips to put on. It's not worth the time. It's easier just to have glue that's already in a bottle that works, and so that's why I really like the Imagine Crafts on-point glue. So I just add some ATG to this first hillside, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the next one down. This is the one that I put on the foam tape. So I simply get a strip of it, cut it, and then put it right there in the middle of my hillside. And then it does take me some time to get the little strip off, which this is why I can't stand foam tape. You can see me struggle with it for a little bit before I finally have to pick it up and peel off the strip. You'll hear me complain about foam tape all the time because I can't stand how long it takes me just to pull off the tape. And I don't know, this is an old, this is a couple years old from Simon Says shaker card set that I got years ago, so potentially it's because it's been sitting around for so long, but I hate to not use it. And then I go ahead and adhere that last snowy hillside with the word Wonderland onto my card. Okay, and now that that's complete, I'm going to go ahead and arrange my penguins onto the snowy hillsides, and then I will add a few dimensional squares and some tear-it tape to the penguins to adhere them to the card. I like to use the tear-it tape because you only need a little strip of it. It's very adhesive. I put it right in the middle. excuse me, excuse me. And then I put the dimensional on the top of the penguin's head because that penguin right there is one that is going to kind of be popped up because it's on the snowy hillside that also has the foam tape on it. And then once I get the penguins all adhered in the position that I want them to be in, I'm going to take some chipboard from Make It Crafty. They're little snowflakes, and I'm going to be doing some embossing with some embossing powder. So let me go ahead and get these little guys stuck down, and then I will talk to you a little bit about the embossing powder that I use and the ink that I use. Okay, so now that I've got all of the penguins adhered down, I'm going to take this Make It Crafty chipboard and cut out 3 of these little snowflakes. You have to use a blade to do this. So I do this off of camera because it's too hard for me. I have to look close at this. And I'm going to simply lay these snowflakes out kind of into the pattern that I'd like them to be in. Okay, and once I have those kind of laid out, I'm going to grab my Versamark ink and simply set my chipboard down into it, and I'm going to grab a piece of tape and stick it to my fingers so that I don't have to get Versamark on my fingers and kind of push that down in there. I saw Christina Werner do this in a video, and it's a great idea that you don't have to get your fingers all into the ink. And all I'm going to do now is put the snowflakes, with the Versamark ink up onto a piece of paper and take some Imagine Crafts silver embossing powder and sprinkle that onto the top of the snowflakes. And then I'm going to kind of piece them out of the paper and place them down on my craft mat. And all I'm going to do is heat emboss those. And those snowflakes get a really, really pretty silvery texture to them, and you can see it as I heat embossed. I would not recommend heat embossing on the craft mat. I have one of those Making Memories craft mats. It's pretty messy because I've had it for years and I use it for all kinds of stuff. But you'll see me heat emboss on it, and I would not recommend because it does bubble up. Now it usually goes back down, but I don't think it's made for heat like this. So don't do what I do in this video. You'll want to either pick up the little snowflake or put it onto a craft mat that can be heated. I have a nice Imagine one now, that's silicone, that I should have put down to do this. So again, either pick them up or put them on a heat safe mat. One of the things I didn't do with this was you can heat emboss and then add more Versamark and put on more powder, and they look really pretty with that multiple embossing, but I didn't feel like I needed it. And so all I do is simply adhere these with on point glue, and then my card is finished, and I have a cute little Christmas card that didn't take very long actually, using some beautiful Whimsy products. Again, the stamp set's called Penguin Adventures, and the die set, the sentiment that I have, the die sentiment Wonderful, is also from Whimsy Stamps, and I'll put a link to all of those products in the description below so you can find anything that I was able to use for this project. The paper, again, is from Doodlebug Designs. I got that from 7Kids craft store online, and I'll put a link to that, although I believe that paper is probably sold out now, but they have tons of other papers that you can find that you'll love. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed this card design, and please make sure to subscribe to Melissa Made here on YouTube, and make sure to hit that little bell so that you can get updates on when I upload new cards. Thanks, and have a great day.